What up? It's iFly. In today's video, I want to go over the settings for GravLab. There's quite a few settings, and some of them may not be apparent at first glance what they do. So let's get started. Point types. You have 4 different point types. Gravity point, attract orbit, gravity point, attract settle, repulsion point, repel, and toggle point, attract repel. So starting with the default point, attract an orbit, simply attracts the particles into an orbit. Attract settle attracts the particles within a certain distance, and then they just stop. They settle. So any particles within that distance just sit where they were to begin with because they're not being pulled in. The repulsion point, repel, simply repels or pushes away the particles. Toggle point switches between gravity and repulsion and attracts and repels the particles. Next, we have hide point, or hide points. So if you want to see the orbits and all the chaos and not see the point, you can do it. Disable point simply disables the point. Snap points to grid with it on just means you can snap the points to a grid. Turn it off and you can put the points anywhere you want. You can stack them all right on top, right next to it. You can stack them normally anyway, but you can literally put them anywhere you want. Next, we have show alignments. So if you want to make sure you have perfect alignment, you can. Just like that. Show heat map. So each point type has a different color, as you can see. Well, the toggle point switches between 2 colors, but when you turn on the heat map, you can see they all have a unique identifying color. So yellow for toggle, green for attract and settle, blue for orbit, and red for repel. Next, we have freeze particles, and that just freezes or unfreezes the particles in case you want to add points without immediately affecting the particles. Just like that. And next, we have reset particles. Pretty easy to understand that one. Resets every particle with a new position and direction. Particles is the number of particles. You can have from 1 solo particle all the way up to 1,500 particles. That way, no matter, hopefully, no matter how powerful your machine, you'll be able to run at least some level of simulation. Particle size simply changes the particle size. Color 1 and color 2, as you can see, there are 2 different colors of particles, so it makes it easier to see motion and movement. And you can change those colors to whatever colors you want. Let's go red and blue for now. There we go. That looks pretty cool. And then you can change the ratio from all one color, all the other color, or anywhere in between. Any mix you want. Viscosity simply changes how thick. If you imagine this void, this black void, as a fluid, this changes the thickness of that fluid. Gravity strength is, so this is the first of the settings that affects the points, but only future points. So the ones that are already out, that you've already placed, it don't matter. So if aren't affected by this. So if I put 500 in here instead of 200, and then let's say replace that point with it, you'll see that now it changes the orbits, because now this point has 300 more gravity strength than these ones do. Put another one over here. You can see it's starting to affect them again, because now it's starting to feel that. Let's put a little bit closer. See that? And because these are here, they're affecting it as well. You can see how they're changing the orbits around like that. So next, where were we? Oh, strengths, right. So the repulsion strength is the same thing, only it changes how strong the repulsion points are. So you can see how little it's affecting it right there. Let's change it up to 500 and place it there. Seems like it's affecting it a little more, but it's hard to tell, so I'll come up here a little more. You just watch where these are repelling off, and I'll take it back down to 200 and put the same point there. And you can't really tell. They're being shot down with a bit of strength, so let's change this up to 1,000 instead. So this is just one of those things you do when you're playing with this. You just kind of go through and see, look at that. Now that is affecting it. See that? You can really tell the difference there. And if I remove it entirely, you can see the orbits go back. So you can influence your orbits with the repel points if you want to keep them on a certain track, or moving in a certain direction, or preventing them from the particles from getting to certain places. Or if you don't want them to go through here, for example, then you can put a repel. Of course, it's a little strong. Let's change that down to, let's say, 300 and put it back. And now, as you can see, it's preventing those points from making it through between those gravity points. Next, we have orbit settle distance, and again, this is a setting that only affects future points. So right now, the orbit and settle distance is this big. If I change it down a little bit, just a little bit, and then put another gravity point over here, you'll see that the circle that it makes is much smaller. Of course, it's not really a circle right now because of the chaos that's going on, but you can see that it's a smaller radius than what's up here. Let's make a bigger one just so you can see. Get rid of that one. You see how much bigger of an arc. They're hitting the floor now as they're circling around that orbit. So next we have vary particle weights. So when you turn that on, it's going to reload all the particles because it has to give a different weight. Right now, all the particles have the same weight, but if you turn this on, also it resets the color. You simply have to change the ratio a little bit again to get it to go back. But so now, in fact, let me just reload. It'll be easier if I show this after I reload. So I turn that on, and then I start an orbit. You'll notice that some of the particles are moving quickly, and they're closer to the point, while other particles are orbiting much slower and are further away from the point. That's because the heavier particles orbit out further at a slower speed, and the lighter particles are pulled in closer and move at a higher speed. The closer they get to the point, the faster they're going to move, because it's attempting to pull them in until it gets beyond a certain point, and then it tries to push them back out. But the lighter that they are, the more in toward the middle that they can get. And the heavier they are, the further from the middle they're going to get. And then next you have, you can adjust those weights. So this is the max particle weight. You can go hardly any weight at all. They're effectively, no weight, and then all the way up to super heavy. You see there's still different speeds. They're all still different weights, but on average they're heavier now. Turn it back down to right about there. Turn that back. Actually, yeah, I'll turn it back off for now. So next we have self-attracting particles. That says what it does pretty well. You click it, and the particles are now self-attracting. They will begin to clump together. In fact, it'd be easier if I turn that off. You can see how they're all starting to pull in toward each other. The self-clustering radius, I skipped some. The self-attracting strength is, how strong they're going to be pulling to get the other particles toward it. Self-clustering radius is how big of a circle basically they're going to cluster into. So if I turn that up, it's not going to do much because they're already within a certain range, but if I turn it back down, you can see that they all start to cluster into smaller groups. If I reset the particles, you can see about how big they are. If I reset it again with a bigger, see, they don't really cluster all that much because it's too big. Reset it again. There we go. So next we have the self-attracting range, and this is part of the reason they weren't really doing much at the higher levels. So if I turn this up, you can see they're starting now, they're all clustered within that group. If I turn this up and turn up the range, in fact, if I turn this down, see that? But if I turn up the range, bam, there we go. Now they're all clustered together. And you can get some pretty interesting effects when you use the self-clustering like that. Let me put another one right here. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can get some real chaos like that. Okay, so reset. Next we have toggle gravity milliseconds, and this goes back to the toggle points. So when you turn that on, you can see how long it turns green and red. The green is gravity, red is repel. This is how long they're going to be in those two different states. So if I change this to, let's say, 500 and replace it with another one, you'll see that it stays on green for half a second and red for 1/10 of a second. Or I can turn that up also, and now it's even again, half a second per state. The toggle distance determines how far away the toggle effect is going to reach. Sync toggle points, if you have, yeah, that's kind of cool because you can get kind of a wave. But if you don't want that, or you've got a whole bunch of them and you're trying to have them all be in sync, you can click that, and now they're all in sync. Next, we have gravity, anti-gravity, and when you turn that on, it gives a downward gravity or an upward gravity, or anywhere in between. If you put it right in the middle, there's a little snap point that basically it might as well be off. But you can use the plus and minus to fine-tune the exact position of that gravity and get a cool little effect like that. And then put a point. You'll see it'll start to orbit that point while they're still falling. And they'll continue to fall until they either get close enough or hit the ground and slide in close enough. And you can get some pretty cool effects like that. Just slightly anti-gravity right now. Next we have, I guess I already covered the anti-gravity strength just now, or the gravity anti-gravity strength. Next we have load particle image. So if you want to load your own custom image, you can do that. And here's where particle size comes in handy. You can turn that on up, get whatever size you want, add your point, and there you go. Got a cool little orbit of green goo creatures. Go ahead and reload. Oh, I guess I shouldn't have done that yet. The next setting is toggle image. So if you want to go between them, you can. Now reload. Hide controls simply hides the controls. Press H to unhide, which brings up a good point. Any letter with brackets around it means you can just press that letter to activate that setting. Hide controls, like I said, it just hides the controls in case you don't want to see them. Panel down moves the panel down. Panel up moves the panel up. Show controls is just another quick reminder of how to use it. And that's about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.